It's mostly because I really love to code, and I'm doing a lot of tech stuff, coding stuff in my free time anyway. So I might as well use that to give back to the community, indeed, or to I know to build a tool that I find useful. Other people might find it useful, so publish it. Um, yeah, it's just a natural fit.
Hey there, welcome to Better Talks, the podcast.
I'm Rick.
And I am Oscar. And today we are joined by Nico Vermeir, who is an application architect at Innovating Belgium since 2010, where he has a strong focus on building and architecting modern applications. Welcome, Nico.
Welcome.
Thank you.
It's great to have you on because you're one of those names that keeps popping up all over the place.
Yep.
Because you do so many things. And in the introduction, Oscar said that you are an architect at Innovating. So let's just start there, right? So you've been there for a while now. Could you maybe explain what your current role is, but also what your journey was to get to where you are right now?
So I've been at the company for 19 years now, maybe let's start with the journey. I started there as a support technician, where I fixed laptops. I opened them up, switched out the motherboards, switched out the hard drives, stuff like that. Meanwhile, I was learning how to program in evening school. And once I graduated there, the company allowed me to switch roles. So that's when I became a junior developer, basically. And then worked my way up from there to senior developer, to architect, what I do now. As for the stuff I do on a daily basis, I mostly help companies migrate their existing applications from older technologies to newer ones in all forms and sizes. That can go to cloud, it can be on-prem, just modernize in newer technologies.
And do you focus on a specific technology stack, or is that also quite broad?
It's all .NET for me.
Yeah, I can imagine that one. And it feels a little bit like it used to go with careers like this, right? That you just start out working at this company where you do something with computers because that's what you like doing or what you're studying. And then you grow into a role in which, for instance, like you now are an architect, and then you are migrating software. But there's a lot of steps in between, right? Because you've had to have your own share of battles and struggles to get to where you are right now, to also have some scarring that actually helps you take decisions, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I could almost feel the pain there. But is there one thing, for instance, in particular that really stands out that helped you form to who you are right now?
I think that the thing that helped me the most is just the atypical way that my career formed itself. I didn't have any, or I still don't have any formal software development degree, and I really had to, especially in the beginning when I just became a developer, I really had to prove myself. I had to fight this uphill battle of you don't have a degree, why should we hire you as a consultant? I had to prove myself over and over again. And I think the strong passion that I had to do this job, because this was and still is my dream job. I think that really helped me push my career forward. Really got me into this community stuff that I do on the side as well.
That's actually a nice bridge, because the community stuff, I think that also translates to the passion that you say that you have for the job, right? So if I'm not mistaken, and please correct me if I'm wrong, Techorama Belgium started out when Microsoft first said we will no longer be doing a big conference in Belgium anymore. Is that correct?
That sounds about right, yes.
Okay, so then a couple of people thought, then we should step into that gap, right? How did that? Were you already connected at that point in time?
No, I did know the people that started Techorama already. Techorama has been going on for 10 years now. 11 now. The one that's coming up next month will be the 11th. And I came into the crew on year 5, I believe.
Okay.
But I was always there as a visitor. The company I worked for was a sponsor, or has been a sponsor ever since. So I was kind of involved, but then I joined the crew.
And then now you also joined the crew for the Dutch Techorama. I mean,
Yeah.
it really looks like you're stepping into a void that was there, right? And I think in the Netherlands we did have Dev Days or Tech Days. I never knew what the order of the names was, because it has been Dev Days.
Yeah,
and it
Dev
was
Days
also Tech
first,
Days.
then went Tech Days. I'm guessing like last one was 2017 or 18. I guess something like that. And we were actually at a table when someone said we're gonna bring Techorama to the Netherlands.
Yep.
So that was pretty
Yeah,
cool.
and it grew pretty fast.
Yeah, and it's still. Is it? Would I dare to say it's the conference in the Netherlands?
I think it's, as far as tech goes, it's the conference in the Netherlands. But also, I think it's really nice to see that it also grew into being more than just Microsoft focused. It does way more now than only show Microsoft focused things. And that's because, well, the ecosystem has grown so much that now it's also really interesting to see additional options, right? Outside of your usual things that you see.
Which
the right tool
aligns
for the
on,
job.
it aligns on Microsoft's strategy of being the best platform to run stuff, no matter what stack you're using.
Yeah, totally. I totally agree on that one. And then, was it easy doing something like Techorama, because there's so many moving parts, right? Is that something that you can maybe elaborate a little bit on?
The fun thing about doing Techorama for so long with a set crew is that it basically runs itself. Just to be
Even
clear,
though it's such a big conference?
So just to specify my role in the conference a bit, I mostly help out during the conference. I'm not in the agenda committee. I'm not in the team that organizes the theme and everything that's there. But running the conference itself, that almost happens automatically. Everyone knows it's his job, and it just happens. It's such a good crew to work with. It's a lot of fun.
And it's probably also because you have this playbook of everything that needs to happen. And I'm guessing everything has been prepared to such an extent that it just works, like you said, right?
Yeah, and we've been working with the same partners, for example, for audio and video since the beginning. And everyone plays his part perfectly.
Yeah, and then they also know what's expected of them, and that allows for...
Yeah, but we spoke some things. We spoke together at Techorama once. It was really fun. Awesome rooms. But what you really notice is that the crew, they're all from the community. They're developers. They know exactly what you need, what you expect. And if you get to a conference and it's completely outsourced to just an AV company, they won't understand that sitting down at a table in the corner with even a tablecloth on it doesn't really work with your mouse, and having a handheld mic, like you get into a really awkward situation sometimes. And just the small things, knowing what state you're in with a demo, and like I would like to use multiple screens, like a couple of things. And
are you hinting at a conference where we went together and then we had this?
I'm not saying that one.
Really roll up a beamer screen.
Yeah, it's like sometimes
it was fun. It was fun.
It's like, how am I going to do this? I'm demoing code with a microphone under my armpit.
but you're two people, so one can hold the mic.
Yeah, that was actually.
We went together, but we had separate tracks.
So as you mentioned, a lot of us in the crew are indeed in the community. A bunch of us are also conference speakers. So we go to a lot of places together. And whenever we see a good idea, we just bring it back with us.
Well, that helps as well, right? I mean...
Yeah. We run the conference that we want to visit ourselves, or we try to at least.
Yeah, and then, I mean, if I look at your... the summarization here, I see NDC Oslo, Sydney, London. You go to Sweatek, build stuff, .next. I mean, you kind of travel all the nice conferences, but also all across the globe, right?
Yeah, for me, it's been mostly Europe, apart from Sydney. But yeah, it's awesome to meet all these people in different countries. I get to have beers with people who live 20 minutes away from me in different countries all the time. So yeah,
That's also how it works. I mean,
yeah,
that's part of speaker life as well. And then we're very focusing now on Techorama, but you're also a crew member of Visa, right?
yep, yep. Got into that one, I guess, about 2 years ago. Visig is the user group that got me started into the community. The my teacher actually in evening school, the one that taught me how to program, he brought us to Visig one evening, and I just stuck around. I met Chill there for the first time and just kept going. And then I guess about 13 years ago, we founded a Windows Phone user group in Belgium. And we
Good
all know how
times.
that went. And
For a
then
brief
Visig
period of
was,
time, it was very nice.
oh yeah. I mean, it's still the best of us ever. And then there was that actually evolved into a more Xamarin-based user group. But then we decided to to stop that, and then at the same time, Visig was looking for new crew members. So yeah, it was a natural fit.
I'm really curious because I run a user group in the south of the Netherlands, and I mean we have relatively good people turning out, a good amount of people turning out. But also, I know that in the middle of the Netherlands, especially where it's very busy, apparently a lot of focus is shifting away from open user groups, and more companies are looking at organizing their own, so they are not as open anymore to sponsoring user groups or even hosting them. And we can even see user groups stopping because companies are no longer willing to invest in something that's open because they're all trying to get it in-house.
Oh,
Is
that's
that
a shame.
But is that something that you see in Belgium as well, or is there still a lot of willingness to help user groups out?
It's a bit of a different situation, right? The size of the country is very different. You mentioned user groups in the south of the Netherlands. You mentioned user groups in the middle.
Yep.
We just have user groups in Flanders. There's a bunch of communities in the French part as well. When I look at the company that I work for, we do both. We sponsor Visug and Azug, the Azure user group. But we also have our internal communities, so we have internal knowledge sharing as well.
Yeah, I think that's the
Yeah.
best mix to have, right? Because you also want to show that you care for the community, or at least that's something that I always think is very important. But somehow, not everything and everywhere they share that, that vision.
Yeah, and even if you decide as a company not to sponsor any communities, I would at least suggest to enable your people to go to those communities, and wear your brand, because as a company you have to be community minded.
Yeah, and like you don't. Some sponsoring is not putting away a budget. It can be like opening your doors because you have a nice big room with screens.
Open
totally
your
agree.
doors to a user group, provide some food, some drinks. That's more than enough.
Yeah,
It's
not that hard.
well, I'm looking at the CTO of a certain company that,
Yeah.
that maybe needs to do that.
I'm full open for for a user group to land. Indeed.
Awesome. Oscar,
Yeah.
do you know what time it is?
Is it already time for totally random questions?
It's already time for a totally random question. Nico, if your thoughts had a background soundtrack, what genre would be playing right now?
That would be thrash metal, probably.
Okay, that's quite a heavy choice. Is that something that you go to?
Background soundtrack also.
But maybe the amount of sound can just dampen maybe all the thoughts that you have, or what's the reason for thrash metal?
It's the best genre ever. That's not even up for debate. And then whenever I need to go in a state of focus, I just put on my headphones and blast that music way too loud. But that helps me stay focused on one train of thought without going everywhere. Like my thoughts are not linear. It's more like a Roomba going all over the place. So, but by taking a part of that bandwidth away, filling it up with music, I can stay focused. That's the way it works for me. So
But
it's not really background music; it's always in the foreground.
No, but I mean, this is what you're looking for, right? Something that helps you focus. And I think I read somewhere that developers, a lot of developers, not all of them, but a lot of developers are most productive at the end of the day because they're tired enough to not wander their minds across everywhere, but still awake enough to focus on that one thing.
Yeah, and knowing that you're not gonna be pulled out of your concentration anymore because
Probably that.
And that makes total sense. I mean, to be a software developer, we're in general all smart people. We need a way to channel that intelligence into what we need focus on in that moment.
And it's really nice that thrash metal then can help you with that.
I'm thinking of playing it for my Roomba because it goes all over the place and it gets stuck all the time. So maybe.
But then you need multiple so they can form a mosh pit.
Oh god!
We
I
actually named our Roomba. So once every once or twice a week, I get Willem is requiring your attention. Willem.
Ours is called Mrs. Robot,
or
and
he's
it has eyes. I've stuck up those.
Really?
We did it with our lawnmower. He has eyes as well.
It's fun.
and then he's stuck near a cliff or something like that. What the hell are you doing, man?
To come back to your question, actually,
yeah, go.
A couple of years ago, I did an interesting experiment. I read an article that said that if you want to get into a state of focus, you should listen to video game soundtracks. Because those soundtracks are made to get the player into that same state of focus that you're looking for. So I built an entire Spotify playlist of symphonic orchestras playing video game soundtracks and put that on in the background, really in the background this time, and it actually helps.
Could you please share that soundtrack or that playlist, because we'll add it also in the description of the episode, and I think it's really nice to have access to that. So.
I had, but that's already 10 years ago or something. I got a couple of those tracks from Carl Franklin, the Music to Code By.
Music to Code By, yeah.
And they're like 25 minutes a piece, so you get like nice blocks of concentration, and they're not distracting enough to start singing along because it's just a bit in the background, but they're just they bring in some focus mode. But the real strength is once you do it a couple of times, that soundtrack will immediately pull you in. It's like I need purple now, and then you just go, and you just it will work because you're just conditioned to know like, okay, now I'm gonna just apparently focus.
That's actually nice.
At the beginning, it was just I played it. It's like, yeah, it probably works. And later, like it just started clicking.
I might have to change to that one as well, because I've had videos sent to me where I was air drumming behind my laptop. Apparently,
for some tasks that's fine, right?
Yeah, okay, but maybe not so much for
deleting email.
Maybe not so much.
But you basically brainwashed yourself then.
Yeah, you really
conditioned yourself. Yeah,
and what I like about it that they're so long, and you don't have the switch. And I have multiple things that I listen to that are a bit backgroundy, but like the thing is indeed the hook that you get. Like at some points, like this plays, like you feel the focus straight away.
Sometimes, and that doesn't work for me all the time, but sometimes to me it helps to just put on television on my second screen.
Really?
And then television where a lot of people are talking, because somehow I apparently shut off for the people that are talking in the background.
But
and that helps me focus.
Yeah.
It's a sort of white noise. It's not too hard, but just or not too loud, just to check.
Question about that. Is that something that happens when you're working from home or also in the office?
No, when I'm working from home. In the office, that doesn't work.
Is this a way of bringing office noise back?
It might be because I mean I'm now in a fully remote role. My team is in Dublin and I work from home, so I go to the office. But when I go to the office, 9 times out of 10, I'm not productive because I see a lot of people that I do know and then we talk, and that never goes straight towards customers. So either I'm in meetings, team meetings, or I'm working by myself, and then I think it's partially. Maybe that's also conditioning, right? Maybe it's also because I'm so used to working in an environment where I hear a lot of people that I actually need that for myself to focus on the job. So
Yeah.
might
Yeah.
be.
Yeah, why not?
Wow, new insights. You learn something new every day. I'd like to go shift a little bit because one of the things that you also mentioned that, or at least that we see that you're doing a lot, is working on open source software, right? And we've already talked about the fact that you like the community and like the general idea of that. Is working open source roughly the same idea for you, or do you also just want to give back, or what's the main reason for you to participate?
It's mostly because I really love to code, and I'm doing a lot of tech stuff, coding stuff in my free time anyway. So I might as well use that to give back to the community, indeed, or to I don't know to build a tool that I find useful. Other people might find it useful, so publish it. Yeah, it's just a natural fit.
It also, I can imagine for people who haven't worked on open source yet, or who haven't built their own open source project and put it out there yet, that it might be a bit daunting in making it available that first time, and then now it's up for everybody to see and maybe even judge about it.
Probably no
Oh
one
yeah.
will see it.
Those chances are there as well. But do you have maybe some guidance or some tips for people who would like to get involved but just don't know how to?
I would say find your favorite open source projects that you want to contribute to. Go through the issues that are on there on GitHub. A lot of those projects have issues tagged with great for first contribution, stuff like that. If not, reach out to the maintainers, let them know that you want to help, or just find an easy issue, fix it, send a pull request, just dive in, get involved.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think once you get past that, because to me the first time, like a project that's actually bigger or visible, let's say that do PR there, that felt much more daunting than just making something for myself. And of course it's a public repo, whatever, because like everyone's looking at it. These are big teams. I need to go through all the hoops.
Which, if you think about it, is strange because for me as a consultant, for example, I work on projects that cost my customer hundreds of thousands, if not millions of euros, and
Yep, we're
I
not
don't
thinking
mind
about
putting
those.
code in. No, you're just pushing code out.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's strange that this feels different.
Yeah, and especially since with open source, chances of people really looking at your pull request and going through it with a fine comb just to make sure that we're not pushing anything that's not meant to be there. Maybe we could even say that for the somewhat larger open source projects, that might even be up to par or even better than some of the internal tools that people are building.
Oh
Yeah, yeah. It's properly polished in some cases.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What about, because like the projects you are working on for yourself, are those like widely used, or is like, well, I built it for myself and some people are picking it up, or do you have a really killer in there?
I think the most popular one for me is XAML Styler, which is a Visual Studio extension. To be fair, I did not build that myself. Someone else built that for I think Visual Studio 2012. But then it kind of got abandoned, so I picked it up. And then someone from the States reached out to me, and now we're both maintaining it together. But we have over 1 million downloads on the Visual Studio Gallery. So
Cool.
Wow.
And that's for you, like on one hand you say it's a hobby, and like I like to code, and I can imagine during the day sometimes you're more speaking and communicating and like bringing people together and not coding that much anymore.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So like, yeah, I can imagine. But is it for you sustainable, or will it also hit the ceiling at some point? It's like, yeah, but like now people are reaching out constantly, or is it not that level yet?
Currently, the project is a bit slow in a sense that both me and Dave, the other maintainer, are quite busy. There are pull requests coming in every once in a while, and whenever we find time, we review them and then we merge them. But to be honest, it's an extension based for XAML-based development. There's not so much XAML going on anymore. It might pick up again with the new push that WPF is getting. I really hope so. It's an awesome technology. So we try to find time, but yeah, in general, it's been good.
Yeah. Yeah, because like lately the news was for a couple of known projects, even Jimmy Bogart, which I really thought was an April Fool's joke.
He waited until April 2nd.
Yeah, he did. But like even those, get some kind of change in the license. What was it? Mass Transit.
Mass Transit, Mediator, Fluent Assertions, Automapper.
Automapper.
Yeah. So you really see that people are still finding the balance, and I do see a difference because I have a few extensions running myself with like a lot of. There are dozens of us. No, like a couple of downloads on them. Like you won't get a lot of questions for those. They're so pretty static comparing to it's in my code that I change every day, and now I'm hitting something weird. So those libraries actually get a lot of questions. So I think there's also a difference in what kind of project do you have, but there's so many different models that would make sense. You see some like doing identity server. They went to a support model. It's like you use it properly because you have so many users. Then you probably want to buy support from us. You get more of the enterprise customers using it, and it makes complete sense. But yeah, so for some libraries like Fluent Assertions, it's much harder to find the model that people are happy with. Apparently,
it's difficult. It needs to be sustainable for you as a maintainer as well. To give you an idea, to come back to XAML Starter, I've been maintaining this for I think over 10 years by now. We have over 1 million downloads. I think in all that time, I have reached 2 GitHub sponsors.
Yeah.
So this is okay. This is a hobby project for me. I'm nowhere at the level that Jimmy's at with Mediator and Automapper. But if you listen to his story, he started this as an internal tool at the company he worked for. That company provided him company time to build this. He's on his own now. He's freelance, meaning that every moment he spends on those 2 extensions are non-billable moments. When you work for yourself, that changes the equation. So I understand where it's coming from.
Yeah, I understand so too. But like you said, so you are on 2 sponsors now. I really expected, especially for larger project, for GitHub sponsoring to let's say work better, because there's been this entire movement in, hey, if you're not building open source as a company, then probably you are still relying on it. So maybe it would be really good to support the tools and technologies that you're using from other people. But somehow that still just didn't take off, right?
No, and I already had that discussion. I've had the discussion with customers saying that Automapper and Mediator is going commercial. What other free tools can we use instead? And I told them, why not just wait for whatever the licenses will be and just go with it?
Yeah, why does it have to be free, right?
I mean, you're an enterprise, you make tons of money, buy the license.
Yeah, and it's apparently a big time saver. Otherwise, it wouldn't be in there, because also the push for simplicity and security, and like you want as least as dependencies as possible. So you pulled it in for a reason. If it's not solving anything, then shouldn't have the discussion in the first
Yeah,
place,
and
because you should have pulled it out already.
yeah, and compare that with the time and the money it will cost to take, for example, Mediator out and put something like Wolverine in. That will cost a lot of time. Time is money.
Yeah, and I mean, I do think that there's a difference between supporting tools that will never go into production, that just help you in your flow, that also have tons of other open source alternatives available, and then tools that actually allow for your productivity to go up, but also move into the production environment. So if we're talking something like AutoMapper, that really helps and also goes into production with the rest of your code and make sure that it has its value there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you also have the let's say testing tools that are only supporting. Still, those are very important.
Yeah,
But
it can be a
feels different.
mega time saver. If it's that, then it's you can still calculate what it saves you.
Yeah.
And you can make the decision for yourself. But like, I'm also on the other side of the spectrum, like really making the budget year up front. If halfway the year a license change gets there, like I didn't expect that, so I need to make a business case. So, and even if like, okay, pick a license, pick a way, it's hard. See, like all the library vendors, and they have all something else. And some of them really want some kind of royalty thing. If you have 3 libraries in your application, you're bankrupt. Because they all want a couple of bucks on every request or something like that. Or it's a per developer thing. It's like, yeah, I sometimes use this tool, or it's running in production. We didn't touch it in 2 years because it's doing the one mini thing, even though it's really wide. Now I'm going to pay 700 euros per developer. How many do I have? It's also like, from that perspective, like awesome to pay something because someone's putting their time in, and everyone, like if everyone put it like a €1 or something, like this open source maintainer would be loaded. But that it's hard to find a model that works for the usage, because everyone's usage for an open source project is slightly different.
I'm even going to go one step further. I think as soon as licensing comes into the equation, only then are we really critically looking at, should we use this? And maybe that should be part of the equation before actually pulling it in, instead of only when people are going and trying to earn a few bucks based on it.
Yeah, you would almost want to. Yeah,
there's a bit of a difference there. Deciding on whether or not to use a specific library when you're in the open source non-licensed world, that is mostly a technical decision. Your senior people on your team decide that this is part of the application architecture, this will go in. As soon as there's a license involved, then it gets partly to become a financial decision. That changes the narrative a bit.
Yeah, it does. That's also true.
Yeah, because you need to make the case. It's like, how much is it worth? And you could have done that with the free version. Like, this is going to save us so much time, so it's worth the dependency, security risk, extra line on my SBOM. Like, you should have done that. Yeah. Maybe we need a base running model is, let's say, any library with an MIT open for use. Just let's say €5 a month per developer in your team. Like, even though they're not charging that, make the business case out of it. Is it useful? Because if it isn't, if you're pulling in, I don't know what kind of million lines of codes in a DLL, in a NuGet package with all kinds of vulnerabilities every 3 weeks, and you use it to left pad or whatever, we know those, maybe you shouldn't pull it in.
I totally agree. And that maybe the fact that we have so much available in the open source space and in the packages space also makes us just a little bit lazy, and I'll just pull in the package and it'll do it for me.
Yeah,
right?
You get it.
On the other hand, if you're implementing all that functionality yourself, that takes up a lot of time, and you have to maintain it as well.
Yeah. So it's always a balance on: do I want to pull it in? Do I want to build it myself? Yeah. Is it worth the
and
hassle?
Like the abstractions really also help you get started, but once it gets part of your core or something that goes high performance, like you need to like unravel it and see, okay, which parts can be more efficient, can be simpler, can I lose by now because we need it in the beginning and now it's just on a hot spot because we're not touching it. But if I would build it, I wouldn't need it. But are we getting down to the bottom of our to-do list? Like, are we doing that? Like in big projects, it's really hard to go find those in hindsight.
Yep. Okay, switching up just a little bit before the end. I'm going to go back to the fact that you said sometimes you travel halfway around the world, or at least halfway across Europe, to have beers with people who live 20 minutes drive from you, right?
Yep.
I think I read somewhere, if I'm not mistaken, that you do not only enjoy drinking a beer once every while.
Yes, that's true. I also brew my own beers.
But that has to be so nice, right? I mean, this has been a topic inside of the podcast for quite a few times now, that since our job is so non-tangible for a lot of things that we do, it's also nice to be actively working on something and then have something to show for it, right?
Yep, definitely.
So how does that work for you when you're brewing beer? I mean, it's a waiting game as well, right?
Yeah, so whenever I make a brew, that's about 8 hours of work. So that's a full day. And it's a full day of running back and forth between several moving parts. And this is only like a 30-liter setup in my garage. But it's quite a physical activity. At the same time, you have to keep your head in the game because you're measuring your water values. You have to have specific weights of your grain and your hops, and you have to follow the recipe that you made up front. So it's both physical, which is more than I do during the week behind my computer, just typing away. But you also need to keep your mind in the game, and that combination is what does it for me.
Yeah, I can imagine. But now I'm really curious. Do you have like this hyper modern setup in which you have digital scales and you just put it on there and it says no, it's just a little bit off, or is it all explicitly manual so that you have older weight scales or whatever that you need to manually lift stuff to see what the weight is?
Dresses up like a monk first.
But I can see the nice value in both of those. So I'm really curious to see how you have that brewing setup.
So I use an electric brewing kettle in which you can program the recipe. So it will automatically heat up to the right temperature for the set amount of time, then move on to the next and so forth. But I use normal kitchen scales for the rest and just basic stuff. I think
I
that
can imagine
the kettle is the most high-tech thing I have.
Yeah, but I can also imagine if you have a kettle and you have to determine, hey, I need to dial it up just a little bit more because I'm not at the right temperature yet, that it also potentially falls apart really quickly, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Those temperatures are important for your end result.
Yeah, I can totally imagine. Do you have a favorite brew? Is that more a white beer? Is it more a pale or?
I have a couple of favorite ones. Are you asking about the ones I make myself, or just in general?
Yeah. What the ones that you like making yourself?
Okay, so a couple of years ago, we started doing this commercially. My cousin and I and a couple of friends. So we are currently selling 2 beers, and the original one, which is an amber-colored Special Belge, that's my favorite one.
Amber colored.
So you went from free to commercial, actually.
Yes, basically.
Well, that's nice, right? But it's
very cool.
We've touched upon so many different topics, and I'm sure I've seen karate and I've seen Harley Davidson. There's a ton more to discuss, but maybe we'll leave that for next. Oh, and guitars. Oh, we need to do another recording somewhere in the future if you're up for that.
Sure.
For now, is there anything that you would like to get back to, or anything that you would like to add to what we've discussed today?
No, maybe just repeat the call out to companies to open up their offices for communities, to support communities. It's important that we find each other again in the physical one-on-one real life way, not just behind the computer screen.
I really like that one. So thank you for that closing thought, Nico. I had a lot of fun. And again, I'm really happy to invite you again a few months from now and see what that brew is doing. But also talk about all of those other awesome topics that we didn't touch upon today.
Yeah, would love to.
Definitely.
Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Beta Talks, the podcast. Beta Talks is made possible by BetaBit Managed Software Development.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.